Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us on the webinar. What a 6 months we've had, emanating out of China, and where we are now today, shut down, all working from home, limited interaction, limited office access, limited access to your clients. But we are doing a great job working through that all together. Obviously this brings on a bit of stress, a bit of worry, finance issues, family issues, and then on top of that, as insurance brokers, you have your clients' issues. I just want to also reassure you, PSC are here to help wherever we can. We may not have all the answers for you, but we're here to provide support and I guess a bit of advice that you may take on board. So please contact your regional managers or anyone in the PSC Connect team who may be able to help. It could be some time before we all meet face to face at our PD days. We had one planned for May that will obviously be deferred. Our conference in Singapore in August has also been cancelled. We're hoping to do that in 12 months' time. So we may not meet face to face for some time, but let's keep the communication going, obviously in a different format and a bit like the webinars here. I'm here to introduce John Toomey. Some of you may know John. He's attended 3 of our annual conferences in the past. A very well recognised speaker, personal motivation, health, wellness. So I've asked John, in the absence of PD days and conferences, to prepare 3 webinars for us, share his knowledge, his experience, motivate us to some extent, and make sure we're on the right track to come out of this at the end of the day. I just want to read what John's mission is, if I may. His mission is to touch the lives of thousands of families, providing exceptional and helpful education, guidance and inspiration to workers, so they may be safer, more productive at work, more engaged, but also happy and content at home, more involved in the community and supportive of the community, so at the end of the day we can all lead greater lives. As I said before, you'd remember John for our previous conferences. I always get a lot from John's messages. He introduced me to the kombucha drink, which I'm still enjoying. John will also want some feedback for you. We're running 3 webinars, so in between each, some feedback. So it would be appreciated if you can support him along there. So I'd now like to hand over to John to share his experiences, thoughts, wisdom, advice.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for dropping in to spend a little bit of time and connect and explore this situation we're in. It's amazing, a few weeks back before the coffee shops closed, Tony and I caught up because I thought it would be pretty helpful for all of you, because I can just imagine how challenging it is and how much of a change it is, especially if you've never been a person who's worked from home much. I've done it all my life, so nothing's too different for me. But we're in a situation now where there is just so much uncertainty. Life has changed in an incredible way. Perhaps most of us have never seen this sort of level of change in our lifetimes, probably since the Second World War. There hasn't been such drastic change, but it is change and we've all got to deal with it. So what I wanted to do today is to have a bit of a chat to you and talk with you about perhaps how you can get the most out of it and explore the whole situation and use the situation to perhaps evolve and become a better person and become a better version of yourself. You know, sometimes when there is vulnerability and uncertainty and we're really not sure where we're going, it's pretty cool to start out getting clear on where you are. And there's a lot of confusion around this whole coronavirus lockdown. And there's only one reason for it. And if you haven't heard this, it might be helpful. governments across the world, when this virus first appeared, hit a concern point because our hospital systems in Western countries are already at breaking point. And the last thing that they could endure was a spike in hospital admissions because of a flu virus. So governments decided that they really needed to stop the spread of that virus, flatten the curve. In other words, they couldn't handle a spike, it had to go like this so that we could ease our way through it. And the only way to do it was to just slow everything down, and that's when the economy slowed down and everything locked down. It would have been a different story if we were a society of people who were robustly healthy, hardly anyone was sick, and the hospitals were sitting there running at 50% capacity. So perhaps that's our first lesson. What can we do when we come out of this crisis where all of us can get much better at being much healthier, a little bit fitter, a bit more conscientious with our nutrition so that we can ease the burden on the healthcare system all the time. Because the word is there may be more of these viruses coming. We don't know, but it's just best to be prepared. So, when we face challenges in life, we can do two things. We can let the challenge knock us over and become a victim to it, or we can look at the situation and start to explore what's really happening. Because something is as bad as it is based on how we're looking at it. We've all heard the term glass half full, glass half empty. Well, it really does apply now. And it's our perspective that really dictates how we respond. So if we look at this situation as terrible and shocking and limiting and restrictive and stressful, that's what we're going to experience. But if we can look at it as fascinating, amazing, different, there's lots of ways that we can come up with different perspectives and view it in a different way. So the option is there for you to really get another perspective. Because even the glass half full, there is a third perspective on that. And the third perspective on glass half full is the engineer's perspective. And the engineer's perspective is that glass is twice as big as it needs to be. So if you are experiencing stress about this situation, how are you looking at it? Are you looking at it as catastrophic, inconvenient, feeling trapped? Or are you looking at it as an opportunity to spend more time with your family, get more done? I do know that a lot of you have all of a sudden got some extra time up your sleeves. You don't have a commute anymore. Now, some people commute 45 minutes each way every day. So it gives them an hour and a half extra time, and they don't have the big preparation when they get up in the morning to leave for work. So maybe they've got 2 hours extra per day. What are you doing with that? Are you using it productively? Or are you just letting it slide by? And it doesn't matter if you are, it doesn't mean you're bad or wrong, but there's such an opportunity there in having that extra time. Do it's incredible. I know people in the US who drive 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evenings, 5 days a week, to commute to work. So those people have got a lot of time up their sleeves. So, really, the message here is, how do you look at the situation? And what can you get out of it by looking a little bit differently? I want to share a story with you about a gentleman I met when I was 21 years of age. His name was Andrew. And I'd set myself up in business as a sports consultant. I wanted to help people out with their fitness and their training. I suppose it was a very early form of personal training that didn't exist back then. fact, there wasn't as many commercial gyms back in when I was 20. And Andrew was referred to me by one of the big rehabilitation services because he'd just been through a horrific sequence of surgeries. It all started out when he was about 20, and he started feeling really flat, and he didn't understand why he was lacking energy. And so he eventually went to the doctor because he thought he might have had low blood sugar. But what ended up happening was that the doctors discovered that he had a benign tumour in his abdomen. And they said to him, we need to get it out. So it wasn't cancerous, but it was a significant tumour. So into hospital he went, and they operated, and they took the tumour out, and they had to take his stomach as well. So when he came out of the surgery, the doctors said to him, well, you know, this is what we did. We've gotten rid of the tumour, but you don't have a stomach anymore. So we're going to have to learn to teach. We're going to have to train you to eat and digest food just using your small intestine. But the problem was, during the surgery, they perforated the peritoneum, that membrane that separates the thoracic cavity with the abdomen. And some leakage went through, and he started to get an infection on his lung and an abscess grew in his lung. And they treated it with antibiotics, and it didn't fix. Eventually, the doctors said, we're going to have to operate and take out the lower lobe of your left lung. So they did. And the surgery was successful, but a few weeks later, he started coughing up the same stuff that he was coughing up before. And the doctors came in and said, yep, the abscess is still there. It's further up your lung. So they treated it and treated it and treated it, and they couldn't get rid of it. So they said to him, we're going to have to take out your left lung. So they operated again and took out his left lung. And this time, in the process, back then when they did that surgery, they used to cut a couple of ribs out and reduce the size of the rib cage because take away the blank space. And in doing that, they damaged his spine. And he came out of the surgery with a partially paralysed left leg and a paralysed bowel. So here he was, this young guy, no stomach, paralysed bowel, lots of scars, and a partially paralysed left leg, going through rehab. And when I sat down with him, I said, how can I help you? And he looked at me, he's a very quiet man, and he said, well, you know, before all this happened, he said, I wasn't very good at taking care of myself. I was drinking, eating too much, I didn't do any exercise. He said, so if I can start training and get really fit, I can be better than I was before I got sick. I couldn't believe it. I said, are you going to sue the doctors? And he said, maybe I will one day, but not until I reach my goal. I have to be really fit. And he said, I need you to give me the programs that are going to help me get there. Now, this guy's life, he used to have to get up at 3 a.m. to start eating to just ease food into his body. So he started training. And I was so inspired by him that I started training with him. I used to take him to the pool and swim. He only had one lung. The noise he made when he was gasping for air at the end of every 100-metre interval was amazing. But he didn't stop. Bought a bike, started riding. Used to take him running, work on his running technique, help him get that leg moving. And we worked, and he worked, and his capacity to push through pain was unbelievable. Never a complaint. Always a grin on his face because he was getting stronger. So I met him in 1982. In 1988, he competed a half Ironman triathlon. Today, he's a father of two very active daughters who are heavily involved in athletics. So he decided to join them and take up a sport himself. And now he's 60 next month. And he's the Australian over 55s pole vault champion. And he never did sue those doctors. But see, he took a tough situation and thought, I'm going to take my attention off that. I'm going to work on making myself a better person. And you know, all of you, a lot of you, have got this extra time in your day. You've got time at home. You can control your food because you're not eating at cafes at lunchtime. And you've got this opportunity to really grab hold of your life and do something amazing with it. Now, just hear what I said before. He started in 1982. He did that half Ironman in 88. That's 6 years. You don't have to rush. You don't have to become mega human in 3 months' time. There's plenty of time. Just start somewhere. Because like Andrew, you can seriously turn lead into gold. You've got some time. Now this whole situation really sort of makes me explore the whole concept of resilience. And how resilient are we really? You know, I think I'm a pretty resilient guy. And sometimes things happen, I think, oh, I'm not very resilient. Because we don't like stuff sometimes when it happens. But you know, every year I go to the dawn service. And this year I'm disappointed because I can't go to the dawn service. I have this thing where I like to go to the dawn service to just remember the sacrifice that the Anzacs made and all those incredible soldiers who fought in those huge wars to protect people, to make it safe for the kids who are growing up, and to give our country an opportunity to be free. Especially in the Second World War, Australia was under siege, and some incredible human beings put all of their self-interest on hold and went off to war to fight for us. And every Anzac Day, I go to that dawn service and I hear the stories and I think about the people who passed, lost their lives, all those mums who lost sons, dads who lost their sons, and people who lost brothers and sisters. And I think, where are we now? We've got some tough times. And you see, we talk about the Anzac spirit. And every Anzac Day I make a little oath to myself. I'm going to toughen up a little bit. I'm going to be a little bit stronger. I'm going to complain less. I'm going to be more like those people who, in just good-naturedly, went off to walk straight towards death. And every year, I'm good at it sometimes and not others. But I'm going to invite you to reflect a little bit this weekend, Anzac Day, and contemplate how tough we have it right now. And really, how tough did the people who preceded us have it? I was writing an article the other day and I was writing about my grandparents. They moved from where they ran a very successful winery in South Australia in the 20s and bought cattle properties in Western Queensland. And they lived a very isolated life. They had to build their own homes, they had to build fences, they had to source water, they had to raise cattle. It was a hard, hard life. When they wanted meat, they had to kill a beast and butcher it. They had to grow their own vegetables. They had no cooling. They had snakes coming into the house, you know? They had all these things they had to do to survive. And I thought, what do? I come home, walk inside, hit a couple of switches, and see what's in the fridge. Yeah. So it's really cool that if we just realise where we are right now, we are okay. We're not in danger. We've just got some challenges. And we've got an opportunity to make it great. So I have a question for you. While we're in this position where you've got a little bit extra time, are you being the person you want to be? Or another question, if you could, what would you become in your life? What's that thing that you've always wanted to do? I was chatting to a really good mate of mine early this morning. I was out training, and he said he's taken up piano. He's 72. He said, I've always wanted to play piano. And he goes, I'm having lessons, playing piano now. It's fantastic. Therese Rain, Kevin Rudd's wife, I was speaking at a conference with her a few years ago, and she did the opening keynote. She was very successful with her employment business. Her whole role with her company was to take people who are unemployed because they'd had an injury and lost their career and get them back into the workforce. And she had a beautiful question she asked everyone. She said, what is that thing that you do that whilst you're doing it, time disappears? Such a beautiful question. See, I'm one of the lucky ones. This is what I love to do. I love to teach, I love to learn, explore, take complex information and share it with you. Not everybody can earn a living out of what they love to do, but that doesn't mean you can't stop looking for what it is that you love. Follow your passion. Look for what excites you. Because now's your opportunity to put a bit of a time and attention there whilst you're still carrying out your duties and doing your job. You see, how you live is what's going to inspire your kids. It's not going to be what you tell them. So what do you really want to go for? Now the thing is, a lot of people don't know, but that's okay too, because this is where the exploration starts. Start looking for what are the things that excite you? What are the things that make you angry? What annoys you out there in the world? What are the things that you would like to change? Maybe you think you can be a better coach than the local under-12s coach. Maybe it's time for you to roll up your sleeves and go and help out. Take on a team next year. Maybe you'd like to grow your own vegetables, but you've thought about it, but you've never done anything about it. Now could be a time. I don't know. But whatever it is that you'd love to do, now's your opportunity. Because when this virus is gone and you're all back in the office, this economy is going to go into rebuild. And we're all likely to be working really, really hard, and all of a sudden we might find that we haven't got as much time as we thought we needed. So now's your chance to turn lead into gold. Look at this as, I'm not in lockdown. This is, I have an opportunity to do something with my life and make things better and explore some of the things I really wanted to explore. But that's your choice. And you know, for some of you, you might have had this little thought, I'd like to get a bit fitter. Always wanted to be a bit fitter. And you've never got time, never got motivation. And now, you got no excuses. None at all. I tell you, I have a son, and he's a brilliant guy. He's 30 years old. He's probably my best mate. And as a kid, you know, I'm his dad. I'm a complete jock. Everything about me is athletics, you know, footy, cricket, surf lifesaving, swimming. When he was a kid at school, he did run once, but that was an accident. He really didn't mean to. He's just not into sport at all. But boy, what a musician. Music got him through school. He wasn't interested in anything else. But eventually he discovered photography, and he now has a very successful photography business. He's killing it. And at Christmas time I was with him. I said, mate, he's bigger than me. He's a big, tall fellow. He's got huge hands. I said, you're getting fat. I said, you're getting really fat. You need to do something about it. He overindulges a bit. He likes his good food. He said, what do you think I should do, Dad? I said, well, you're never much of a swimmer as a kid. What about if we get in the pool? I'll help you with your swimming stroke and we'll get into some swimming. He said, all right, yeah, that'd be good. So I didn't make it too hard for him. We got in there and we did technique work. So we just took it really easy. We weren't even doing fitness work. We were just doing technique work. And each time we swam, he swam a little bit further. Then he started bringing me up to see if we could do an extra session because he was liking it. And you know, when the pools closed a few weeks ago, the last session we did, he swam 2.2 kilometres. And he was flying, he even overtook me, which I was a bit dirty about. Anyway, that's another story. But then when the pools closed, he looked at me and said, Dad, what are we going to do? I've been really loving this. And I could see his body changing and he's getting fitter. I said, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I've never been into running, but maybe it's time. I said, all right, let's take it gently like we did with the swimming. So we met 3 mornings a week and we started out. We just took it really easy. Walk, jog, walk, jog, walk, jog. I got to the venue an hour before, did my run, got my training done and then did some with him. And the last session we did, which was yesterday morning, we did 5Ks. We can all do it. And if you want to go after using this time to make some positive change, now's your opportunity. No roadblocks. There's no excuses. It's like, I'm really good at making excuses myself sometimes, and sort of gets us off the hook for a little while. But I love inspiring stories of people who do not let anything get in their way. And when I turned up at Hawthorn Football Club in the mid-90s to start there as a conditioning coach, one of the players, Tony Woods, came to me and said, can we have a cup of coffee? I want to talk about my training. And I said, sure. So he went and sat down and I said, what do you want to talk about? And he said, well, something happened to me last season that I never want to happen ever again. I said, what is it? And he said, we were playing St Kilda and I was given the job to tag Robert Harvey. For those of you who don't know, Robert Harvey won 2 Brownlow medals. And a tagger basically has to run with this player and never let him get away and stop him getting the footy. So he said, we turned up at the centre bounce and I put my hand across his chest and he said to me, he looked at me and he said, son, in 3 minutes' time, you're going to wish you were never out here. And he said, you know what, Johnny, it took 2 minutes. He cooked me. I could not believe the intensity that guy ran and I couldn't keep up with him. And I don't ever want that to happen again. I looked at Robert Harvey and I thought, wow, he does not let taggers distract him for what he's doing in his life. So I invite you to take on that same level of commitment to yourself. Now, where are you going to get the energy for all this? Well, this brings me back to my favourite topic. And it's something you've got a lot of control over and you can change something really quickly. Some of you find yourself yawning at 10:30 in the morning or 12:30 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Some of you find yourself having sweet cravings during the afternoon. Some of you find yourself getting a bit sleepy in the afternoons. Well, most often, none of that is because you're tired, and it's not because of Netflix, unless, of course, you're going till 2 a.m. During the day, one of the key functions that your blood serves is to remove heat from the core of your body. Your body's generating enormous amounts of heat all the time. Now, the way your body gets rid of that heat is it traps it in molecules of water in your bloodstream. Those molecules of water are then deposited in your sweat glands and in your lungs. The water that goes in your sweat glands just evaporates off your body and disappears into the atmosphere. The water that goes in your lungs comes out as water vapor in your expired air. That's what you use to clean your glasses. Now, because all that water's coming from your blood, your body has to replenish that water. And your body can't stop giving that water away because if it did, you would cook yourself. So if you're drawing water out of your body's water tank, and your body's water tank, by the way, is your bowel. So as your blood's giving water away, it's replenishing from the bowel. If there is no water in the bowel, it's not going to stop giving water away. It can't. You'll cook yourself if you don't. So as the day goes on, if there's not enough water in your bowel, the water level in your blood drops and your blood volume drops, and your blood starts to thicken. And that compromises the efficiency of your circulation to the point where you stop getting adequate blood flow to your brain. When your brain's not getting enough blood, it's not getting enough oxygen and it's not getting enough glucose. So here's what happens. The first thing happens when your brain is not getting enough oxygen, it switches on a reflex which is designed to blow off some carbon dioxide and get a big shot of oxygen in. And that reflex is you start yawning. Now what a lot of you will do when you start yawning is you'll go looking for a pick-me-up. You'll go and make a cup of coffee, maybe you'll go and drink a soft drink, get one of those terrible energy drinks, I'll tell you about those in a few weeks. Or you might go outside and smoke a cigarette. And you come back and you feel better. But there's only one reason you feel better, and that is because you got up and walked around. That lifted your blood pressure, so you got some blood back into your head. As soon as you sit down, at some point, when it all settles, your symptoms will come back. And when the symptoms come back, your brain then goes for plan B. And plan B is designed to do two things. Number one, to slow down your metabolic rate, and two, get your body horizontal so the blood will flow more easily to your brain. So when you're dehydrated, if you haven't fixed it after the yawning, you're going to start falling asleep. The reason people fall asleep behind the wheel of motor vehicles is because they're dehydrated. 90% of the Australian population is chronically dehydrated. Now here's the second part. When you're dehydrated and you're not getting enough glucose to your brain, it switches on your hunger center and you start looking for food, especially rich food. So that's the thing that's causing your feet to get up and walk to the cupboard and pull out the Tim Tams or the cake or whatever else is that's in the fridge when you start eating when you're not really hungry. Your body's just dehydrated. So here's the trick. Every person should be drinking 1 litre of water per 25 kilograms of body weight every day. So if you weigh 75 kilos, that's 3 litres of water a day that you need. Now some of you are probably looking at me and thinking, oh my God, if I drank that amount of water, I'd be running to the toilet all day. And that's correct. Because you see, when you're chronically dehydrated and you start drinking water, your body doesn't know what to do with it. It's not used to it. So it's going to go straight through. It's a bit like pouring water into a bone-dry pot plant. When it hasn't had water for a long time, the water just goes straight through and out the bottom. It can take your body a little while to hydrate itself properly. It can take about 4 to 6 weeks. So if you're one of those people that's running to the toilet all the time, back it off to half a litre and then build it up over the next 4 weeks until you can comfortably drink 1 litre for every 25 kilograms of body weight. And you'll notice an amazing difference in your energy levels and your appetite. You won't believe how good you feel. Now, you've got to realise you're probably at your most dehydrated as soon as you wake up in the morning. You went to bed, food in your stomach, you've been under a doona all night, sleeping next to another body, there's extra heat there. There might have been heating on in the house, or it might have been a hot night, depends on what part of the world you are. You might have drunk alcohol. I mean, apparently that's not happening at the moment with people in lockdown, nobody's drinking. But alcohol dehydrates you. So when you wake up in the morning, you're very, very dehydrated, and it's a real struggle to wake up and get yourself moving. So the trick is to hydrate yourself as soon as you wake up. So as soon as your feet hit the floor in the morning, before you do anything else, I want you to try drinking 1/4 of your daily water intake. That's 25%. Now I'm a bit over 100 kilos, so when I get up in the morning, I just scull a litre of water. It's in a bottle beside my bed. I'm an early riser, I love the early mornings, so I've got a nice little routine. My alarm goes off at 3:58, I get up, drink my litre of water, lay back down, listen to the news on the radio, lie there for a bit and contemplate the day, get up and get into the day. It's a really cool way to start. And by the time I head out training, maybe 5 o'clock, I'm full of beans because I'm properly hydrated and my body's really ready to go. Now, you might think, I have to drink 700 mils of water in the morning. I can't do that, that's too hard. If I gave you a medical reason why you have to drink 700 mils of beer when you wake up, you'd figure out how to do it. So get over it. It's just another challenge, all right? And if you like, you can warm it up a little bit so it's a bit warmer. And if you squeeze the juice of a lemon into it, it'll do you a lot of good, and I'll explain why at a later date. So that's on a stock standard day. But then what happens when you start exercising and sweating, or maybe you're in a warmer climate and you're going outside for a bit during the day and it's warmer and you're sweating and you're losing fluid. Then you need more water. Now, how much you need, it's a bit tricky. So here's my prescription for you. You should be having a big urination every 2 hours. So you need to be drinking enough water to have a big urination every 2 hours. So on some days, you might even double your water intake. It's incredible, some of the hot environments in the world, construction workers I've worked with working out in the mining areas where it's super hot, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they're dehydrated and they've already drunk 15 litres of water. So just be mindful of that. If you are in really hot conditions, you might need a lot of water. But the thing is, you see, when you are dehydrated, your body has to hold on to its urine for a lot longer because it hasn't got the spare water to keep producing urine. So when you do pass that urine, it's concentrated, it's darker in colour. So I bet some of you, when you woke up this morning, your urine probably glowed in the dark because of your dehydration levels, right? Well, that's the way the construction workers know that they've got to keep their urine clear and they've got to have a big urination every 2 hours, and they drink enough water to make that happen. So if you are in a hot environment, that's your prescription. Now I'm here to tell you guys, it's got to be water. It can't be Coca-Cola flavoured water or chocolate milk flavoured water. Those things just slow it down going through your stomach and you really don't get the benefit. Pure water. About the only thing that you can easily add to the water that's not going to stop its flow is a bit of lemon juice or a herbal tea of some kind. The other thing that's actually really, really good for your gut is organic apple cider vinegar. You can put some of that in your water too if you like. It gives it a really cool tart taste. But I promise you, if you hydrate yourself, you'll get your energy levels up. And then if you have got some goals that you want to go for with exercise, you'll have more energy to do it. And the other thing you'll notice is that your appetite will drop. So if you are wanting to make some dietary changes, that part will be a little bit easier too. So that's my invitation to you. Hydrate yourself, 25% when you wake up, keep your urine water coloured, and be patient with yourself. If you find yourself running to the toilet a lot, even if you've dropped it down a little bit, keep going because your body's just dumping some stored fluid, and that can happen as well. And that's a really good sign. When you dump that fluid, I once had a lady come to me years ago for a nutritional consultation, and I told her about water, and she'd never drunk water in her life. And she said, "Oh, I'm excited about this." And she rang me up and she said, I've lost, this is quite a few years ago, and she was an older lady, so she was still talking imperial units. But she said, I've lost 11 pounds in 1 week on your nutrition program. I knew it wasn't nutrition, it was just the hydration. She dumped a lot of water. 11 pounds, that's 5 kilos. I'm not promising that, okay? No promises. Just take care of yourself. And get your kids drinking more water too. You know, when they get a bit grizzly, it could be just because they're dehydrated. Get them drinking water. And if you haven't got a water filter at home, it's a good idea to invest in one. If you want to know a really good one, there's a wonderful one, the one I use at home. It's called Zazen, ZAZEN.com.au, and they've got a wonderful program where they support primary schools, and their water filter is extraordinary. Okay, so here you are, sitting at home, working hard. Tony and the team drive you really, really hard. I understand, they're tough people, but you've still got this time, you know, and you know, maybe you're watching a little bit too much Netflix. I know it's very tempting. There's some really good stuff. I mean, I'm blown away by the artistry of film and television makers these days. They produce some really good stuff, but still, you've got some time. Are you a goal setter? When you start to look at what you really want to achieve, and it might be something business-wise as well, have you got a goal? If you're not sure, think about what do you really want to achieve, and when do you want to achieve it by? Do you want to run a marathon? Do you want to have an extra $50,000 in the bank? Do you want to speak another language? Do you want to get another qualification? Do you want to read 10 books? What's your goal? Because having a goal gives us something to shoot for. Some people are great goal setters, some people have never done it. I never used to goal set until somebody taught me how to do it. And once I started setting goals, it helped me to direct my attention to the things I wanted to do. And I found myself waking up in the morning excited about my day because I could get on with what I wanted to create. So having a goal is a really cool thing. Now, there's no good having a goal if you keep it a secret, because then if you don't achieve it, you don't have to tell anybody. At some point, you've got to show up. So my invitation to you is this. When you get a goal and you start to get clear on what it is, and make sure it excites you. Please don't put a goal down that doesn't excite you. You know, if your goal is to read Shakespeare and you hate literature, you're nuts, right? That's not a goal, that's a should. Goals are not shoulds. Goals are something that you in your heart want to do. I've got a favourite song, it's called Loving Home by a young Australian guy by the name of Kim Churchill, and he said, whatever sets your soul on fire will surely set your heart at ease. It's got to be something that sets your soul on fire. And when you get that goal, you then need a plan. How are you going to get to that goal? What steps are you going to take? What have you got to do first? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Back to my son, you know, his music, when he was at school, he was a drummer. And he was such a talented drummer. I know I probably sound like a proud dad, but he was very good. But then he realised that he hated smoking and drinking, and he didn't want to play in live venues. He just didn't want to do that. So his attention drifted to photography, and he was really good at that. And eventually he sold his drum kit. And I was heartbroken because I loved his drumming, but I had to get out of the way and let him have his life. I didn't say anything, but I knew that he loved his drumming as well. It was where he was in the zone and he was just at peace. You know what's happened since he's had a goal for his fitness and his swimming? He's been loving the training and liking himself more, feeling more at peace with himself. And I met him the other morning to run, and he said, "Oh, guess what, Dad?" And I said, "What, mate?" And he said, "Well, I've been dropping into this music shop." And he goes, "I've been checking out these electronic drum kits." He said, "They're really cool." And he said, "One of them hasn't got all I want." He said, "It's $4,000. The other one," he said, "it's amazing. It's $10,000. And he said, "I'm looking at these and I play them and I talk to the guys. I go in there a couple of times a week." And he said, "Well, I went in there the other day. The guy said, 'You won't believe it. We've got a new kit in.' And he said, 'It's got everything that other kit's got. It's $6,000. And he said, "Dad, I just reached in my pocket, pulled out my card and I bought it." And he's back playing his drums again. And he's loving it. And he's using this time where he's stuck at home to reconnect with what he loves. But I don't think it would ever have happened if he hadn't started working on improving himself with the training. So I ask you, when you set a goal and you find something that you like, can I invite you to connect with 2 other people, maybe 2 other people in the business, and make an agreement with them that you all share your goal, and then share your plan. And then invite them to critique your plan, help you come up with a set of objectives that are doable, and then go after it. And once a week, connect in, check on each other, see how you're going. Because, we're all better when we've got to be accountable. And a lot of us are not that great at being accountable to ourselves. But if we can be more accountable to a coach or a colleague, we've got more chance of achieving what we set out to do. So, this is an opportunity to have a new focus in your life. Things are different. We can sit there and go, "This is stupid, this is amazing, the government's ridiculous, I feel trapped." Or we can go, "You know what? This is an opportunity to do something amazing. Take hold of life and become somebody that you've always wanted to be." So now, what I'd like to do is open up to you questions. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat. Hannah will read them out and she'll let me know what they are. And I'm going to try my best to answer them for you, okay? And if I don't have an answer, I will find out. I'll get you to email the question to Hannah and she'll forward it on to me. So, who's got a question?
Nothing yet.
While we're waiting for questions, one of the things that can really help while you're moving through this time is to ground yourself with gratitude. Sometimes we forget what we've got, and gratitude can become one of those trendy terms that people throw around. But really, what are you grateful for? Do you take time to just contemplate and feel what you are grateful for? There's a great little exercise that I know of that comes out of a course that I teach, and it's just a walk on gratitude. You go outside and you take a step and whisper to yourself something that you're grateful for, and you let yourself feel that gratitude, and you take another step, whisper something else that you're grateful for. You know what's going to happen? You're going to start remembering and realizing all sorts of things. And the longer that walk goes for, the deeper you'll ground yourself in gratitude, and you'll realize that you feel really peaceful. You feel really calm. I'm really glad that you're alive. Sometimes I do that walk. Well, the prescription and the exercise is to do it for 30 minutes. So I invite you to give that a try. Question?
Yes, we have a few questions around the water. So
Mhm.
people are just wanting to know if mineral water is okay as well as normal water.
Okay, the natural mineral waters are okay, but the commercial soda water's no good because they're just water with sodium in it, and sodium will dehydrate you. Some of the cheap mineral waters, they've also got too high a sodium in them as well. So some of those Italian, those mineral waters, they're great. But try, if you really want carbonated water, soda stream is a good way to do it.
And then just alternatives to lemon in water. And somebody's saying that sometimes if they drink too much water, they actually get some reflux and some bad complications.
Yeah, well, if you're finding that, you might want to slow the water down going through your system a little bit. And a good way to do that is when you look at your water bottle, fill about a quarter of it with organic apple juice. Well, it can be plain apple juice if you like, but organic's better. Then 3/4 water, and the fructose in the apple juice will just slow it down going through your system a little bit. And that should be fine.
Okay, and then quite a few questions around, actually one more in regard to drinking, which is kombucha.
Yes, kombucha's extraordinary. I brew my own. Tony's putting his thumbs up down the back there. Kombucha, I'm going to talk a lot about gut health actually at one of the upcoming seminars. So I'll talk a lot about kombucha then. But having, 300, 400, 500 mils of kombucha every day, and it can count as part of your water intake because it's very low sugar level and it's extraordinary, really good.
And then moving on to the next topic, there's quite a few questions around staying motivated. People finding that they're good for about a week or so, particularly when they set goals, and then seem to just drop off. What would you recommend?
Yeah, look, that's a really good one, and it happens to everybody. It happens to everybody who trains. They hit those flat spots where they just couldn't be bothered getting out of bed. Now, here's the thing. Once you've got your plan as to what you're going to do for training, what I want you to do is every time that you're meant to train, let's say, for example, tomorrow morning you're planning to go for a walk jog at 6 a.m. and you wake up and you don't feel like doing it. What you do is you get up, you put your gear on, you walk out the front door and you walk down to the corner. Then when you get to the corner, if you just don't feel like doing it today, it's okay, you can go back to bed. But you're not allowed to make that decision while your head's on the pillow. See guys, life is hard. That's the beauty of it. That's why it's so thrilling to achieve something, because we've got to get over ourselves and overcome our laziness and our inertia to achieve something that we want. So if you're one of those ones who's struggling, get yourself an exercise buddy, someone to exercise with you, someone that you cannot let down. I've always in my life, up until the last few years where I haven't really had much trouble motivating myself, right through my 30s and 40s, I always had people I trained with. And I tried to find people who were better than me and people who I knew would do their very best to humiliate me any time that I didn't turn up. That's how I motivated myself, because when I woke up, even if I felt lazy, fear overcame me and I had to get going and make sure I went. So whatever works for you to help you commit yourself to at least getting to the starting line. But please, no decisions while you're sitting in front of the TV or you've got your head on a pillow. That's not a good place to make decisions about exercise. You've got to be at the starting line. And at least you've got an out there. If you just don't want to do it today, you can go home.
We've got time for a couple more. Online with the motivation, what about people with children? How do they encourage their children to be motivated during this time?
Yeah, look, when my son was a little guy, I thought to myself, you know what, I don't want to parent like my dad did. So I need to learn how to be a parent. And so I went and saw this amazing lady, Caroline McLean. She ran parenting classes. And I used to go 2 hours on a Wednesday morning. And we used to sit there and she used to teach us all this incredible stuff. And one of the things I realised is my son and my two stepdaughters at the time, they were a lot smarter than I gave them credit for. And the thing about kids is you've got to sit with them and talk about what's coming up. Plan the day. You know, this is what's on today. This is what I'm going to be doing. What do you want to do today? This is what I need you to do because I've got to do this. And so the kids are clear on what the day is. And show them the time. So when the time gets to this, that's when I'm going to stop work. And you've got to keep your agreement on that one for them. That's so crucial. The other thing is that she taught us this thing for a morning routine, which may not be so relevant now that the kids are not going to school, but it will be relevant when they go back to school. And if you want, I can send it to you. It's amazing. She said, write down a list of all the things the kids have to achieve in the morning. And I had a list of about 6 things. You know, get up, make your bed, make your breakfast, make your school lunch, pack up your bag, and be ready for school. And she said, that's not a list. She said, that's a set of goals. You break it down step by step by step by step by step. I ended up with a list of 29 things. Wake up, get out of bed, take off your pajamas, put on your school uniform, put your pajamas under the pillow, make the bed, pick up any dirty clothes on the floor, come out of your room. They're all the steps, all the way through to making breakfast and cleaning up, making their school lunch, cleaning up, and then the last thing on the list was, if there's time, you can watch some TV. So we put that list, printed it out with a done and not done column, laminated it and put it on corkboard, and we put pins down the not done. And we said to the kids, this is how you do it. When you get up in the morning, as you do each thing, you can move the pins across so you can do it first. And the next morning it was like a stampede in the house. The kids went nuts. And every morning it was the same for about 3 weeks until they got bored of it. But you know what? I never, ever, ever made a school lunch or a breakfast after that. Totally self-organised, because kids will if they have the confidence. So if you want some more tips, shoot me an email. I'm sure I can send you some stuff. But I haven't got all the answers, okay? Because every kid, they're a unique little human being. They got their own personality. And the challenge for you is to discover what drives your kids and use that to help them to get on with what they want to do in their day, rather than fighting against not doing what you don't want them to do.
All right, we might do one last question,
Yep.
which I think is quite a fitting one for the end. Is there any books or anything that you can recommend that would sort of complement the messages that you've delivered today?
Yes, well, you're going to get an email at the end of this, and in that email I've put a whole lot of links and some ideas for some books. You know, probably it was interesting, a book popped up only a few days ago. I read it probably 30 years ago, and it's still one of the greatest books I've ever read. It's just called The Road Less Travelled by M. Scott Peck. And you can buy it, and you can probably get an audio book. But yeah, it's brilliant. That's a great question, because that means somebody's got their attention on taking this on, which is really cool. Now, the other thing, just finally, you're going to get a survey as soon as this is over. Could you please fill out that survey? That'll help us a lot with preparing our content for the next sessions. And enjoy the email that comes through, and my personal email address will be in it. So if you've got questions for me, please reach out. So thank you so much. I wish you all the very best. Hopefully we can get through this crisis sooner rather than later, and we can get to see the footy teams out there again. Wish you all the best. Thank you.